And the topic of today's short talk is, do you only want sex? So this is a question that men often hear earlier in the courtship process. It usually occurs after the two have initiated a sexual relationship and the man expresses interest and enthusiasm in having sex with the woman again. And let's be clear, this isn't really an honest question. It generally has a shaming tone to it, as if wanting sex is somehow superficial or disgusting or insulting to the woman in question. It also implies that it's somehow inappropriate to be focused on sex, which is not at all sex positive. And we at PsychHacks are sex positive. That said, for some women, it can feel as though straight men's interest in sex is some kind of annoying distraction or a degrading objectification. Now, to be fair, this attitude can be a reaction to, let us say, men's heavy-headedness with respect to their intention. And I think I understand the woman's experience here, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But the experience is something like, as a woman, I want to feel like there's more to me than just the warm hole I can provide, which literally every woman can offer. If a man only wants sex, well, he can get sex from any woman, and I don't want to be any woman. So participating enthusiastically in an activity that is this impersonal and generalizable would somehow diminish me as a person. I want to be seen and related to as something more than a sexual object. Therefore, consciously or not, I will punish men's enthusiastic sexual interest in me so that I can have the benefits I hope to accrue from the relationship, either increasingly on my terms or more cheaply. Now, to the extent that I got that right, there's nothing bad or wrong with that sentiment inherently. However, there are a few ideas there that are a bit misguided, and my goal here is to help women understand this so that they can have more satisfying relationships with the men of their choosing. Leaving aside the belief that men can get sex from any woman, they can't, and the belief that sex is somehow impersonal, it's not. The real issue with this line of thinking is a lack of appreciation for the real essence of sexual relationships. As you know, sex is extremely important to men, and sexual relationships are the one socially acceptable place where men can get it. So it's actually entirely appropriate that men bring explicit, enthusiastic interest in sex to their sexual relationships, because where else are they supposed to bring that interest? You have to understand that sexual relationships have kind of a monopoly on sex, and if people can't get something they want at the monopoly, they typically don't surrender the necessity or the desire. They go find it on the black market, which is the shadow of the monopoly. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, then please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message. It's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to grow the channel. And you can also hit the super thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you derived from this episode. I appreciate your support. Now, to be completely real with you ladies, almost all the things that a woman can potentially provide a man, she can get elsewhere, except for sex and motherhood. But we're going to focus on sex for today. Sex is the thing that is unique to the sexual relationship, and so it kind of makes sense that sex is going to be of high priority with respect to that relationship. Women complaining that the men they're seeing might only be interested in sex is sort of like the chef at Tony Roma's complaining that the people there only seem to order ribs. The chef might be like, well, I make salads too. I put a lot of love and care into my salads. Why doesn't anyone order my salads? Because it's Tony fucking Roma's. It's the place for ribs. Well, why can't it be the place for ribs and salads? Well, because that's terrible branding. And if Tony Roma's had the poor judgment to actually pursue that marketing strategy, it would not work out well for them. People go to Tony Roma's because they want ribs. That's what the place is known for, and that's where they know they can get them. They can get salads anywhere. And in this metaphor, a salad is anything that I can get from a sexual relationship that I could also get elsewhere, say from my friends or family or colleagues or myself. Men go to their sexual relationships for sex for the same reason people go to Tony Roma's for ribs. What's on the menu is in the fucking name. And embracing this reality helps both women and Tony Roma's prosper. So, it doesn't quite make sense to me that a woman might feel put off by a man's sexual interest in her, especially if she's already in a sexual relationship with him. Can you imagine the waiter at Tony Roma's condescendingly asking, "So, you only want ribs?" It's not wise to shame your customers. If those patrons weren't interested in ribs, they wouldn't have come through your door. And you can't get anything from a customer who won't walk through your door, now can you? On the one hand, advertising your availability as a sexual partner and upholding strict social mores about the sexual monopoly of sexual relationships, while on the other hand, shaming and degrading men who appropriately bring their sexual interest where it is advertised and socially approved, is an enormous double bind. It is unlikely to prove a successful mating strategy for women, and it will likely degrade the quality of the relationship for any man unfortunate enough to stay in one. This might be a bitter pill for some women to swallow, but I gotta keep it real for you. If you want to be seen as more than just a sexual object, you will need to provide more than sexual value. If you were to go out with me, what would generally happen on the first few dates? Well, I kind of set everything up. I take the initiative and ask you out, so I'm disproportionately assuming the risk and the responsibility for both of us. I establish the time, the date, the place. I'm going to pay for everything. On the date, I'm funny, making you laugh, charming, making you feel engaged. I'm intelligent, making you think, and I'm interested, making you feel special. In this common dating scenario, you just basically have to show up. And without sex, what exactly am I getting out of this interaction? Where do I get what I want? Do you see? So if you, the woman, want to be seen as more than just a sexual partner, then be smarter than me and teach me something I don't already know. Or be funnier than me and make me laugh. Or be more charming than me and make me feel something. Or be kinder than me and offer me emotional support. Or, if that's too much to ask, buy me a drink. Or take some initiative so that I don't have to be responsible for every last detail of the interaction. I already have plenty to do, and my time and resources are not limitless. Unpopular opinion, but it's your responsibility to demonstrate that you have more to offer than simply sex. But if you're not funny, and you're not that smart, and you're not treating me to anything, and you're not taking initiative or responsibility, and you're not particularly kind or supportive, well, what else is on the menu? That is a real honest question, and you need to think about that. And you have to understand that the value proposition here is relative. You may think that you're funny and smart and sugar and spice and everything nice, but are you funny and smart and what have you relative to me? Let's be honest. The higher the value of the man you happen to be dating, the harder it will be for you to provide positive relative value. For instance, if I make significantly more than you, it's going to be harder for you to foot the bill at the places I like to go. If I'm very intelligent, it's going to be increasingly difficult for you to tell me something I don't already know. And if you're not that charming, I will probably have to do the entertaining for both of us. So, what's the upshot? That it's actually easier for women to be perceived as more than just a sexual partner with lower status men. But those aren't the men they generally want to sleep with. So women are kind of on the horns of a dilemma. Either she has to really develop her skills and virtues relative to the men she would prefer to mate and date, or she has to kind of make peace with the fact that when people go to Tony Roma's, they want to eat ribs. Personally, I think it makes a lot of sense to play to your unique strengths. In fact, I could teach women to get pretty much any man that they want. But one of the ways that women really shoot themselves in the collective foot is not accepting men's sexual interests and appetite. Ladies, you gotta think about it in terms of marketing. If you want ribs, where do you think about going? And if a particular man wants sex, which he will, where do you want him to think about going?